Welcome to the Verdenberg Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verda. Hope everybody's enjoying their holiday weekend run. Recap the college football playoffs. Kevin Smith arriving in Baton Rouge. Couple of things that you're going to have to watch for here, whether it be the transfer portal, losing some players, adding some players. We'll break it all down. As per usual, drop all your questions in the chat. Anything you got on your mind, we'll break it down throughout the stream. Got a couple of breaking news things to talk about too. Notre Dame trying to sneak their way into the playoffs, all that good stuff. Let's keep the main thing though. Our guy, Kevin Smith. LSU football sneaky, bro. They're smart. They know what they're doing on the media side. They know what they're releasing. They know what they're posting. And this was about a 20-second reel that honestly shocked everybody. Everybody saw, okay, not only is Charlie back in the building, all the Ole Miss coaches that went to Oxford for this playoff to clear no more crank. Are they going to have Kevin? It's pretty obvious here. You got him not in any LSU gear, no official confirmation, but I mean, this is about as official as it'll get before you see the real statement here. I mean, they're releasing the video on every social media platform. Y'all saw it at Verdant Verdict on Instagram. We dropped it right after a soft launch, if you will, with our guy Kevin Smith. Now, we kind of been talking about this for a while in terms of his change, in terms of how this will affect people. Harlem Berry, Caden Durham, because look, this is the deal with Kwan Lacey. You got to think about it like this. First off, Kwan, phenomenal athlete, and I'm not saying that we don't want him at LSU. Of course you do, but there are going to be a couple of implications that happen, right? The rumor, the word on the street is Kwan is getting offered and courted pretty hard by Ole Miss, obviously, and you'd guess that they don't want to lose their one of their star players, especially if Chambers can't get an extra year. I mean, he's going to be a focal point of that offense going forward. So they're giving him around a $2 million offer in that ballpark, in that area. Obviously, LSU, if they're going to pull him from that, are going to have to come around there. They're going to have to get around that ballpark number at $2 million. Might not have to hit $2 million. You might be able to do 1.5 and say, hey, but Kevin's here and Kiffin's here and it's LSU. You might be able to sell it a little bit, but there's going to be some shifting going on, whether it be Harlem Berry wanting to get paid or whether it be Caden Durham wanting to get paid. Now you're going to have to really weigh those options because you've got young talent. You've got young depth. You've got a lot of, I would say, potential in that room that, yeah, sure, they've got great relationships with Frank Wilson. That could be a deciding factor for them in and of itself. But adding another person in the room, not only just adding them, but giving them the value, one of the biggest values that, quite frankly, will be on LSU's offensive side in terms of their NIL valuation. I mean, it could change some things. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And to keep in mind this, too. You need multiple quarterbacks, not even just a starter. You're probably going to need a backup, unless Michael Van Buren decides to stay. But, I mean, look, even if you pull in one guy, it's two quarterbacks. So you're going to be getting multiple QBs. You're going to be getting O-line. You're going to be getting wide receivers. It's going to put you in a little bit of a pickle if you're shelling out that much to a halfback. Now, I'm not trying to say it's a bad decision. I'm just saying it is something to think about. LSU is in a different spot with the collective, too, because you've heard us talk about it a million times now. The Nike Blue Ribbon Elite program, which is the first external NIL deal that Nike has done with any university. It's big. I mean, there's going to be a lot of shockwaves felt around that. I'm sure that another college will be able to poke their nose into that deal, but LSU's exclusive right now with that regard. So that'll help in the collective side of things. And then obviously the comment that Coach Kiffin made on the podium. He was courted by 4 schools, and the number one collective, the school with the most resources that went after him, was LSU. So you could be in a different spot. But, I mean, we talk about it over and over and over ad nauseum. You've got to be able to know how to use it. You can't just have it go up in smoke. I mean, I make fun of Texas A&M all the time, and don't worry, we'll get to that at the end of the stream. Their meltdown, their collapse. But they're one of the biggest examples of, I'm not going to say what not to do in the NIL era because this year went well for them. But the first year with Jimbo in 2021, you're getting the number 1 recruiting class. And you're buying all these players, and nobody stays. And you don't get to build that continuity. So it's a fine line between throwing everything at the wall, the kitchen sink, the plumbing, the damn wiring, everything, bro. I'm talking about everything against the wall. Sometimes you might put yourself in a little bit of a pickle. I can't lie to you. But it's good that you're catching up with elite programs. It's good that you're able to be in the conversation like this because if people are not talking about you, you ain't doing something right. And speaking of talking, there's been a couple of petty comments, if you will, made throughout the week. It's football.
with Charlie Weiss calling this game for this one reason. Charlie Weiss could not afford not to call a hell of a game. All right, all he's heard, right, his whole life, Lane Kiffin's office, Lane Kiffin's office, Lane Kiffin's office. So this is his one opportunity, right, for people to realize Charlie Weiss calls the offense, right, just like he's done all year, and he did a great job of it. So I had no concern on that because the last thing Charlie wanted to do is come out here and lay an egg, all right, because then whose offense is it? Yeah, you be writing about it. Whose offense is it? That's right. You can say his name. Whose offense is it? Okay. No, you just said Kiff's. Yeah. Because he didn't score any points, so Kiff wasn't here. Right, so then now Charlie doesn't call the plays. So Charlie does a great job, and there was zero concern with him. Like I said from the very beginning, he didn't get on that plane with any doubt that he was going to coach us in the game because that's who he is. I had.
It's an interesting take. I got a couple of opinions on it. So first, it was a great game. I mean, not for Tulane, horrible game for Tulane, but Ole Miss did their thing. Now it's a double-sided sword because Lane Kiffin sends the coaches back to Oxford to help the transition. They get a playoff win, and it looks good because, I mean, you really don't – I mean, you did desert them, but you don't leave them up shit creek without a paddle. You did your best to try to alleviate some stress. Then the benefit for LSU is going to be the fact that your coaching staff, and not even just a little analysts or assistants, I'm talking about coordinators. I'm talking about skill position groups that, like, the running game for LSU is horrible. I'm just going to say what it was. This year, the running back room and just the run game in general was very disappointing. Now you're going to bring in two of the integral pieces for that offense that's in the playoffs, that has playoff experience. You're going to be able to bring them in, and I feel like transition and have the experience to be able to utilize it well. The interesting part about that comment, though, that Pete Golding said, that it's Charlie's offense, and Charlie had an opportunity to be able to show everybody what he's been doing all year behind the scenes, because Lane Kiffin is the main guy. Everybody's going to say it's his offense because you know why? It is his offense. I mean, in terms of game management on third downs, fourth downs, I'm sure it's Lane Kiffin calling those plays. And then just to dial it back, I mean, Charlie is in a scheme that was custom designed by Lane Kiffin. And I'm not taking anything away from him, but I'm just saying it's Lane Kiffin's fundamentals. Now, he kind of went on Twitter, as he always does, and he tweeted the statistics of the most yards per game and just all these different explosive through-the-air stats that he possessed at Ole Miss. And, I mean, some people were like, oh, he's tweeting it during the game. He's trying to throw shots. Neither here nor there. Both sides are doing it. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I seen a FanDuel post, too, talking about Pete Golden has more playoff wins than Lane Kiffin. Such a situational stat, boys. Situational stat. Let's dump into the college football playoffs. Let's start with the reaction, though. Notre Dame, BYU. They're going to have a series for 2 years starting next year, 2026, 2027. It's interesting because they're almost going to put themselves in the same spot that they're in this year. They're not going to continue their USC series. It just doesn't really make sense because this season you were in a predicament because you only had a handful of competitive games that people respected. So why wouldn't you add BYU and retain the other games? Why would you put yourself in a spot where you could potentially still be disrespected? There's an asterisk, though. It's because Notre Dame, per their athletic director, if they get into the top 12 next season, the committee's locking them in a spot. So if you ask me, they're probably going to take that cupcake route continuously because they know they can get into the top 12. All you got to do is lose 2 games. I mean, shit, you can lose 3 and people are going to argue whether or not you should have been in the playoffs and this and that. Everybody knows being an independent puts you in a little bit of a tougher spot. And obviously, the only main independent that you're going to be able to focus on for a college football playoff spot. And I get Nick Saban's argument. Like JMU, they don't have good resources, good roster. I mean, they're just going to get buzzsawed. So you stole a spot from a team that deserved it. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's arguable. It is arguable, and if Notre Dame really deserved it because they're not putting themselves in a competitive spot. I mean, now you're opening the conversation and the can of worms on if Notre Dame should be over an SEC team that's playing a more competitive schedule and this and that. I mean, I don't know. I think that Notre Dame adding the BYU series to their schedule would have been smart if they weren't replacing the UNI. Obviously, it's going to be probably more beneficial for them than it'll hurt. It'll hurt the perception. It'll hurt everybody around the program criticizing them for taking this path. But at the end of the day, if they're guaranteed a spot if they get into the top 12, probably is better to be safe than not sorry. Anyway, that's what's going on in the future. We'll keep tabs on the present, though, right here, right now. Miami, Alabama, don't matter how you feel. They deserve to be in that playoff. They got the wins. They advanced. They knocked out a team that many people would have thought beat them. I'm not going to sit here and act like the Miami Hurricanes are going to win it all, or Alabama, but I'm just simply saying that they were able to take that chip on their shoulder and broadcast to an entire nation, for the lack of a better word, an asshole. Miami, especially, because they knocked off a team that a lot of people, quite frankly, put as an SEC favorite mid-season, and rightfully so. A&M went on a hell of a run, right? I mean, look what they did to LSU and Tiger Stadium. 40-plus points. Everybody saw the takeover of the stadium and all this chants and all this good stuff and them trying to get over Lamar Brown. Check out these stats, man. It's interesting because Miami didn't win total yards. They didn't win the penalty yardage. They didn't even win the time of possession. It was about the turnovers at the wrong time. Marcel Reed and his offense, it was struggling a little bit. He threw 2 picks. One of them was horrible, absolutely horrible. Matter of fact, I got that clip ready for you today. Let me pop this up, big guy. I mean, bro, this looks like me and CFB, and I ain't even trying to clown, but he completely, it was a short throw, no lead. I'm going to replay it here in slow-mo. No lead. Throws it behind him. I mean, come on, Marcel. This is one of those plays that all but confirms he'll return to college football. And I'm not saying that this is a situation that every quarterback is going to be able to successfully conquer. It's a tough spot. Not only was that DB hugging tight on him, but you had the linebacker in the middle as well that he threw the ball over. So it is a rough spot, but there's multiple throws all game that you just were scratching your head like, damn. I mean, not to say that he's struggling, but Barstool put out a stat earlier. In 3 games against the 3 highest-ranked opponents Texas A&M faced all year, he had 7 turnovers, 0 touchdowns. Mic drop statistic, unfortunately. Aggies played rough, bro. I ain't going to lie to you. I feel like it just doesn't make sense for him to enter the draft, especially if you got eligibility, especially if you're in a program like that that's going to always be able to churn out resources, plug a couple of players out of portal, replace some key spots. Now, does he return to A&M? I'm sure that'll be debated on for a long time. I would say yes. I don't know why you would mess up a good thing, but I've seen crazier stuff in college football. Now, here's an interesting side note because we're talking about total yards, box scores, yada, yada, yada. Carson Beck had 103 passing yards. 103 passing yards got you a college football playoff win. It's easy to do that, though. That running back Mark Fletcher went for 10 yards per carry, 172 total yards. Phenomenal game. It'll be interesting to see how they move going forward. I'll predict the end of the playoffs at the end of this segment. But let's move on to the more interesting game of the week. Bama versus Oklahoma. Man, shout out to Ty, bro. Boys got me right, man. My picks were 2 for 2 in this game. The over, Bama almost covered it by themselves. The total was 40. I mean, everybody was talking defense. And all season, they did. They did have a great defense. However, this is the playoffs, baby. It's a little bit different. Ty went on a huge run, scored about 4 unanswered scores in a row. Whenever I turned it on, it was 17-7. I mean, like, it don't matter. His boys, Ty Simpson, like they said at the end in the press conference, they wrote us off. We ain't right back. Now, I know we talked about the run game woes and just the struggle, but I mean, this was the key element of everything. And I brought it up, but I'll circle back. Both run games are trash. Like, if you look at the way Bama was ranked, I mean, Oklahoma, if Bama's right here, Oklahoma's like maybe 2 ranks above them. They're both in the bottom 100s. I mean, look at the statistics. They didn't even combine for 100 yards. They rushed for 83 yards together. I mean, you got schools doing shit. Miami went for 170, almost a whole 100 yards more than both teams collectively. So I didn't really think that was going to be a prohibiting factor. I trusted Ty Simpson under center. John Batier still had a hell of a game, 300 total yards. He looked really good. It's unfortunate, though. I think Alabama, I ain't going to lie, I'm going to go out on a limb. I think Bama can make a natty push. I think you can see a Bama and Georgia rematch in the national championship. I'm staying on business. And here's another thing. Look at this picture. I popped this up for a specific reason. I'm a full screen, man. I'm taking me off the screen real quick. Okay, Canva, don't let me do it. They're clowning his hoodie. The Air Jordan hoodie. Oh, here we go. The Air Jordan hoodie was getting some flack. They didn't like that our guy Venables was rocking that Mike J drip. Now, I don't think it was a big deal. People are like, man, what a team logo on it. You don't got Jordan with a team logo. You don't got this. You don't got that. I mean, bro, we know he's the Oklahoma coach. He's got an Oklahoma hat on. He's on the Oklahoma sideline. He's been the Oklahoma coach for years, and he will be for years. I don't know if I'm going to take that stance. I don't know if it's as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. Now, what is a big deal is losing by 10 points after being up by about 3 possessions. That's the big deal. That's what I would focus on. I don't care what he's wearing. Shit, he could be shirtless on the sideline. He could be like Bert Kreischer with his stomach out. I don't care. I don't think that's the biggest takeaway from this. The biggest takeaway will be, how does Oklahoma return to this point, especially if John McTeer's out of his eligibility. All right, here's the rest of the playoff bracket. As promised, my predictions. So now Indiana and Alabama face in the Rose Bowl, Texas Tech and Oregon in the Orange Bowl, Ohio State and Miami, the Cotton Bowl, and in the Sugar Bowl in Louisiana, Georgia versus Ole Miss, which is interesting because the Ole Miss coaches will coach in that game as well. However, they are in Baton Rouge, as we said with Kevin Smith. So I don't know how you keep a focus in that. I don't know how you keep the main thing with that. It seems like that's a distraction. It's not something that LSU has to worry about. But I think it'll come back to haunt Ole Miss. Give me Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Now, Ohio State and Miami. Miami had a great game. And Miami is probably one of the more stout defenses that's not an SEC squad. I think Georgia has the better one in the entire playoff bracket left, especially with the mind of Kirby Smart. But I'll give Miami some credit with Crystal Ball. They're building something good down there. I think Ohio State gets this one, though. And Ohio State will meet Georgia in the Verbal Fiesta Bowl. Now let's go up top. Start at the Rose Bowl. Indiana and Alabama. Fernando, Mr. Heisman. They've had a crazy Cinderella magical run. I can't lie. But I think Alabama will overwhelm them. I think that, and look, I know Indiana has phenomenal performances, especially against Oregon. It's probably my favorite Indiana win all year. I don't know that they beat Ohio State. Trust me, I picked Ohio State. I remember that well. I don't know. I'm confident in Alabama. I'm going to stand by the course. It makes sense. I just can't go against the gut feeling, man. Friday, I had it for Bama. A lot of people are fading. I can't fade them, man. I'm rocking with Ty Simpson, bro. I think Bama will beat Indiana. And then let's flash to Texas Tech and Oregon. This is interesting. This is probably the toughest game to pick out of this entire slate because the narrative around Oregon was, oh, well, their offense is going to be tough. They don't got all their wide receivers, yada, yada. DeCorney Moore gets thrown out there. He's good enough to roll, and they score 50. Now, does JMU add the end, break the opening spread and score a touchdown in garbage time and get to the 30-point mark? Yeah. However, I think that Oregon's explosive enough to be able to kind of challenge Texas Tech because Texas Tech is in an interesting growing pain phase, if you will. Like, I'm not trying to say Texas Tech is not a good team. I think that all season it was very clear they were going to be in the playoffs. And it's not even just because of how they did in the portal. That's the biggest factor. The portal, yeah, being able to revamp and plug and play holes in your offense and defense. But I think the biggest thing was that there was just not much competition in the Big 12. You know what I mean? I think that going into the season, when you looked at the collective rosters and when you looked at the return in production, there just wasn't really that many teams that stood out. I mean, maybe at BYU, but they lost their quarterback. So that kind of put an asterisk by them. Maybe in Arizona State, and the Sam Levitt laid an egg. And then, kind of shook back a little bit, if you will. Who else are we missing? Utah. I mean, I never really thought Texas Tech was going to have to fight to get the Big 12. I thought that they would be a shoo-in for the playoffs. Here they are. And that's not to say that they can't beat Oregon. It's just to say that I don't know if they were playing the level of competition that they needed to be able to adjust. I got Oregon in this one. So I'll have Oregon beating Texas Tech, Bama beating Indiana, Ohio State beating Miami, Georgia beating Ole Miss. I ain't even going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you straight up one more time. I think it's Alabama and Georgia in the Natty. I think it's a rematch of the SEC title, very similar to what you saw years ago, and I think Georgia wins it. I'm so confident in that I put $20 on a future. $20. And I ain't even gonna lie to you, I'm staring you right in the face. If Georgia wins, everybody in the chat gets bread. Everybody in the chat. We got 29 people in here. Come on, bro. Every single one of them is getting right if Kirby Smart and them dogs come down that track with that title. Back to Athens. I think it's possible. I think it's possible. I can't lie. All right. Let's get into the chat. We got Coco Shama. Let's go, man. Jay Woods. Good to be here, my guy. Yes, sir. AP talking about that dude's a snake. Who are we talking about? Pete Golden? Pete Golden or Lane Kiffin? AP? Oh, Lord. What position? What's up, Damon? What position is a must-have from the portal besides quarterback? Offensive line. Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. You need to fix that. That was not only one of the biggest reasons why the run game was so good, but it also played into Garrett Nussmeier's struggles. I mean, they returned one person from last year after losing Will, after losing Emory, after losing Miles and Garrett. And DJ didn't even start. And I'm not trying to say he should have. Obviously, I mean, there was a reason that it didn't happen. But it's to say that you replaced every single starter in one offseason when you brought in like two people from the portal and two freshman linemen. And one of the freshman linemen that carries Kern's already gone. So you're going to have to hit that harder than ever, especially with the new O-line coach coming in. Now, I'll give you a second one. I'll give you a double whammy. I think a position that's a must-have for the portal besides quarterback, besides offensive line, quite frankly, I'm going to say corner. And I know it sounds crazy because you got P.J. Woodland, you got DJ Pickett, you got Michael Turner, you got guys that you're going to be able to have step up. But you lost Ashton Stamps. You lost Mansour Delane. And those two were who many thought, myself included, let's say back in spring, were going to be your cornerback one and cornerback two. Now, DJ came along great. He's going to be somebody that I can 100% see being a lockdown corner one. You're going to have to get somebody on the other side of him, though. If P.J. Woodland is going to be more that line of scrimmage threat. I think it'll just benefit the defense a little bit better. And then, I mean, look, if Blake Baker's now that Blake Baker's retained, now that Corey Raymond's retained, I think you're going to have an easier time retaining all these defensive players that have eligibility left. But there's also going to be a position with the linebacker room opening up. Harold Perkins is going to the NFL. That could be an area as well. It'll be interesting because those are the two sides on defense I can see them really having the target. Corner and linebacker. And then on the offense, obviously you said quarterback and then offensive line. Jay White in the chat, is the D-line coach Lucas signed the papers? I'm nervous about that. Man, all these expected to hires. I made a joke about Elijah Robinson on Twitter because he's getting the A&M job now, or at least he's expected to get the A&M job now. But it's like, man, he was expected to get 3 different jobs at this point, from LSU to Nebraska to A&M. So, I mean, cross your fingers. Feels good. But you never know until it's confirmed. Same thing with Kevin Smith. I mean, he's in the building now. So it's like, I can't see that not working out. You're not dropping that on socials for no damn reason. AP, almost impossible to know we need in the portal. We don't know who's coming or leaving. They said that we're using practice to figure it out. Good point. Yeah, you're going to have to see the bowl game. But look, with the people that are opting out, it's pretty clear who you're losing. You're losing Mansour. You are definitely losing Harold Perkins. You're losing Aaron, Barry, Garrett. You're going to lose a lot of pieces that were key focal integral parts of the offense. So going forward, I mean, quarterback's going to have to be the number one priority. After that, in my personal opinion, I would say you're going to have to focus on the offensive line. The most important thing, the biggest glaring red flag of the entire offense was the offensive line. I mean, if you date back to practices, if you look at the practice reports, there was a point in time where there was a red zone period and they didn't move the ball forward at all. Like the best play that I saw was a scoop and score by Mansour Delane, grabbing a fumble in the red zone and returning it all the way back, damn near 90 yards. I mean, that was the best play. And then there was also just a clear discrepancy. Like, you could tell that the defense was on fire, but it just the amount of pressure that was able to get through it just didn't feel like there were that many reps won by the offensive line. It just felt like constant pressure. And obviously Blake Baker had his guys ready, but I mean, it was a glaring hole that they're going to have to fix and not bring in the next year, because in the SEC, you got to have them people in the trenches, dog. I can't lie to you. Cool. How about them Saints? How about them, bro? I got 4 wins, everybody. Come on. Saints got 4 wins, guys. It's exciting. Tyler Shuck, bro. Everybody going to hate on the man until he starts performing, and everybody's going to act like they love him, bro. That's Louisiana football. Y'all got 5 wins. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here doubting y'all. 5 wins. Come on. Tyler Shuck, 308 yards. Chris Olave, 10 catches. 10 catches. Holy crap. Hey, I want to say it one more time. I'm about to have to do like a year in review segment for y'all. because I don't think anybody remembers them hot takes in the summer, man. I got to give myself some credit. The Pats are out here with 12 wins. Tyler Shuck is looking like a good piece. Those are my two hot takes for the season. And in a world where everybody was hating on Tyler Shuck, oh, look what he did in the combine. Look at the throw. It was so horrible. You probably got one of the most ready quarterbacks in terms of starting experience. People forget that type of stuff. 5 years in the college system, mature, ready, watching film, prepared, professional, ready to take the next step. And I'm not trying to say a 3-year player isn't going to be cookie cutter and isn't going to be able to fit the role. I compared it to a Jaden Daniels situation, though, or even a Joe Burrow situation. I mean, they both were in college to the maximum of their capabilities, and they were able to transition well. I'm not trying to compare Tyler to them. I'm just saying the experience is always the best teacher, and that was one of the things that I felt confident about when they got him. So, I mean, look, hindsight 2020, obviously. And then with the Pats, shout out Drake May, bro. Shout out Drake May. Simply put, our guy Will Campbell's on the sideline. Keyshawn Boutte got active. Definitely a pass interference on him at the end of the game. I'll give my honorary ref opinion right there. NFL's interesting, though. Saints are Packers. Horrible. What are y'all doing, bro? Packers are breaking my heart every damn week. If y'all ain't know, yes, I do root for the Green Bay Packers, who just got absolutely slaughtered in Chicago by Caleb Williams in overtime, up 10 with 5 minutes left. Buku des. Buku choking. All right. I'm getting out of here, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in to the stream. Hit that thumbs up. We're getting out of here. We are in Houston for the bowl week. It's coming up. We're going to more than likely be on site Friday. I'll still go live at 1. We'll have a bunch of content all week for you. Saturday is the game. LSU versus Houston, Texas Bowl. Come on, get excited. Get excited. Your third time in the Texas Bowl in 5 years. How could you not be excited? This is damn near your home at this point. You're home away from home, if you will. A lot of LSU fans will be tuned in. Like I said, we'll be there on the sideline getting all the content, all the footage. If you want anything specific, you got to drop it in the comments. I'll check, I'll read, I'll make my little shot list for y'all. But that's all I got for you. They appreciate everybody in the chat chiming in. AP talking about he always left Tyler. Yeah. Oh, that's Joey. My bad. AP, you caught a stray. Jay White, Damon, Jay Woods. Appreciate all y'all. Y'all enjoy y'all day. This has been The Verdict. I'm your guy, Jacob Verdict.